One thing I wanted to ask you about, so before we get any guest on, we asked them to fill in some questions for us so that we've got like pain points to really draw out some good answers and some good questions. Like,
dig me deep, what's going on?
But one thing I really wanted to ask you about, because it was a really interesting question, you said you've faced a lot of rejection in life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two questions. It's a double-barreled question. One, I really want to know about that and how that shaped you now and how that influences how you coach people. And also, one thing I didn't know, which I learned this morning, was that you were in sales, door-to-door sales.
I was, yeah.
Which I had a little stint of as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great job.
And one, what was that like? Because I think a lot of people might not know that about you.
Yeah.
And has that also influenced what you do now? Because obviously sales is a big part of what we do, but not only the sales side of things, but the facing rejection that you spoke about on that video. So it was the one where you're talking about you didn't get any sales all day.
Yeah.
And then you got sales at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And like overcoming that battle in your mind to just stay out and keep grinding. Like, you tell us a little bit about that.
First off, that was a horrible day. That was a very horrible day. But I think, from when I was like younger, everything around me was pretty like, I say like picket fence. There was nothing out of the ordinary. Like, my family's pretty normal. They all have normal jobs. And as I started to like, go college and look at uni, I was like, there's just something that like isn't for me about this. And I know deep down that it's not for me. So like, when I started and I decided to drop out, just mentally I thought like, I can't do this. There's no point me staying in it. And I know you'll probably relate to that a little bit as well. I started getting like rejection from the things that people would say and just dealing with that. So it was like, oh, okay, well, you can just go back in a year. Oh, okay, well, why don't you try and find something else? Oh, okay. And it was like, they weren't direct rejections, like people are saying no to me, but I felt like everything that I was saying and what I wanted to put out was being ignored. And then obviously you go through your relationships and then you go through like just stupid things like failing your driving test. And over again, I was like, well, I'm dealing with rejection, but it's making me have this complex that I need to like prove a point to everybody. And my whole sort of like coming into this industry, it was less about proving a point then because I'd sort of got to what I wanted to do. But still to this day now, it's like, why am I trying to prove to everyone who rejected me that I'm in a better position? Because they don't matter to me no more. Do you know what I mean? And I think like doing door-to-door sales, you'll know it builds a level of resilience because I don't know what was your like take, like did you like have to work around like
like your story today of walking around the estate, like that was me every day. I mean, to be fair, not that I'm trying to make mine sound worse, but the sales approach that they use for mine, we didn't do door-to-door sales after like 4:00.
Oh no, we did until 10.
Never made that. This is completely off topic to what we're talking about, right? So I don't want to go too far off it, but tell me if you agree with this. We're doing door-to-door sales from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. Who's home? Retired, unemployed. I'm selling to retired people and unemployed people. Like, you don't want to buy off me.
Yeah.
And then when all the people come home from work who've got money because they've been in work all day, I'm getting off and going home.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder there was no sales.
And then they're like, it's your attitude. And you're like,
is it?
I'm
Or
not sure.
did I knock on like 10 houses and they were all like 90 and they don't really want to give me any money for the...
Don't have an
It was
email.
karate.
Yeah.
It was karate I was selling.
Karate?
Karate memberships, mate.
To old people.
Oh, wait. I thought that was a metaphor.
No, like
you were
actual...
selling karate.
Actual
That
selling...
went over my head.
Selling karate. Yeah. So essentially like gym memberships, but for karate.
Karate.
What were you
Door-to-door
selling?
sales, yeah.
Gas and electric. And even then, there was a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So, karate.
Yeah,
That is
yeah, yeah.
mental. That is mental. But yeah, you'll know, right? Like, it builds a level of resilience. Like, even when from that story that you've just mentioned that I've told, like, that wasn't the first time that happened. That would happen day after day after day. I'd come back and I'd be like, and what? I've made 15 quid the whole day.
How old were you when you were doing this?
So I was about 19. I did it for a good 8 months. And then after that,
That's way longer than me.
if I thought I would, I didn't think I would last that long.
Yeah.
But I got to the point where I was like, this has actually given me the opportunity to not be in this like regular pattern, like get a job, go home, get a job, go home. But still now I'm not as free as what I'd like to be because it was 10 o'clock till 9 p.m. every day, 5 days a week, and then you'd work Saturdays. And I think that resilience is exactly what I needed because I was the only one out there making my own money. So talking back on like, you know, rejection, I think it was always thinking that I don't want to stay in the same place that everyone sort of planned for me. Do you get what I mean? But still to this day, like everyone deals with rejection differently, but I think it's all about not taking it personally and actually seeing like, what are you offended by? Like, what is it that someone's saying to you that is really offensive? And why are you taking that so personally sometimes? And I think you see it in clients sometimes, like if you say something quite honest to them, they'll either really thank you for it or they won't like it at all.
Yeah.
Like,
And they just won't respond to the chat.
Yeah.
or they'll just read it. Your loom has been watched and that's it. Like.
I asked you 9 questions in that check-in this week and I haven't heard back from you and it's Thursday and you do your next check-in.
But you know, I didn't want to interrupt, but I've actually, when you were talking, clocked that I've also done door-to-door sales.
I mean,
Yeah.
without knowing because they
But for
don't
my
tell
own
you.
self when I was 14.
What were you selling? Can you say on here what you were selling at 14
Yeah.
doing door-to-door sales and
Okay.
speak?
Is that legal?
I had a good couple of businesses going on when I was 14.
Lucas A. graft in school.
I had
Twirls.
I had the school graph going on. I had one that I can't mention, and then I also had a lawn mowing business.
You've told me about this actually, yeah. Yeah.
You see, though, you probably had like a cute aesthetic then, though.
It was
a
called
14-year-old boy knocking on
You
your door,
looked
can I
exactly
mow
how
your
he
lawn?
looks now.
called
Skinnier.
it's called no,
He
get on this
hasn't
name.
aged.
And it was
Get on
just
this.
It's just got bigger.
This name, the Lone Ranger, it was. Because I thought that was the best name in the world, because it's like the Lone Ranger, but the Lone Ranger.
I thought
I would have let you mow that.
Yeah.
That sounds very weird, but like, I would have like,
Is that a euphemism?
Yeah.
when it comes out, you're like, like that.
You're trying to like grab the words back out
Wait,
there.
let me reel it back in.
Yeah, so I think that business didn't. I think it lasted a couple of months, but I was just doing door-to-door sales, and I think it just like it almost numbs you to the level of rejection because it's like
Oh, yeah.
I think the first couple of times I did it, I was like sweating, like a little bit, like nervous, anxious about it, and then when the first 10 people reject you, it's like, oh, it's not that bad actually.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I cannot remember one face from that job. Not one face, not one name, nothing, because I think naturally I've just blocked out. I can remember scenarios and like things that happened because it was such a crazy job. But because I was just so used to it at that point, that now if someone was to say no to me in any situation, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, I've dealt with worse.
Yeah.
And I think in a weird way, some people have just not experienced that, which is why they can't handle it at all.
I think it's that just becoming numb to it.
Yeah.
But I think part of the reason why rejection hurts so much, or it can hurt so much, is if your self-worth is placed upon that person's opinion or that person's value of you. So when they reject you, it almost takes a part of you away.
From who or what, basically.
Yeah. Talking about rejection, so in the moment, obviously now looking back on it, you can still be like, that rejection was good for me, it shaped me, blah, blah, blah. For someone who's going through something now where they're struggling with rejection, or there's something massive in their life and they've just been majorly rejected, maybe a relationship, or they just got fired or whatever, have you got any advice for people trying to get over that or get through that?
I'd say that, like, the first emotion that you feel when you have rejection is that you failed at something, whatever it is. Like, you know, you get rejected by some girl you like or something. She doesn't like you. She thinks you're a twat. And then you feel like a failure somewhere. You know, you fail a test, you fail something in your exams, whatever. You're automatically just going to go into that thinking, oh, okay, like, I failed, that's it. But how can you actually, like, define, like, endless failure? Do you get what I mean? Like, where comes the point where it's set in stone that you've actually failed?
Yeah.
And, you know, when you get rejected over and over again, I personally think it's just a process of, if it is actually important to you and you actually want to go down it, it's a law of average type of thing, really, isn't it? Eventually you're going to get there, as long as the approach is right for you. Like, you've got to take it as, for me, and like things that I say to my clients is like, well, the only way you're actually going to fail is if you don't actually make the steps to do it again.
Yeah.
Or try it again.
If you choose to quit,
Exactly.
that's failure.
Yeah.
You haven't failed yet if you keep going, sort of thing.
exactly that. Like, that's the only way you could actually say you failed anything.
Yeah.
So if you understand that, I think you become a lot more aware of like when you're acting in the heat of the moment or just out of pure emotion. Like, I suppose it's like when I left uni, I felt like a failure because I was like, right, I can't even do the basic 3 years of studying that you're supposed to do. Like, what is that? But it obviously wasn't for me. And in other parts, I've not failed. And I'm still learning and I'm still getting there. And it's the same way the other way. Like, you know, there's no point to success that a person's ever happy, is there? They always just keep going. So I think understanding it works the same other way. There's going to be peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
If you go into that with like an open mind and say, okay, well, I'm accepting of that, it becomes a lot easier to sort of monitor your emotions around it. What about you? Like, what would you say?
Well, I think I can speak about during my uni experience. I didn't feel any sense of rejection at all because I was probably in a different place at that point in my head. I'd been like, you obviously knew it was right for you, but I like fully knew it was right and trusted it and was just of an opinion it'd be like, it would be failure to stay. So I left almost with like, it wasn't even a question of whether, because I knew I would have been able to do it. Obviously you knew you would have been able to finish 3 years of uni, like you've got it within you. It was just, it wasn't right for you at the time. But I think when you're fully assured in that and you are 100% certain of what you're doing is the right thing for you, then you don't feel like it's rejection. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or
No, yeah. If you, it's not rejection or failure when you're...
yeah, maybe like not rejection because it's failure is more specific in that thing, isn't it? Like I didn't feel like I'd failed because...
Your goal wasn't to finish uni though.
Yeah,
you went to uni to further your abilities as a coach, and when it didn't serve that greater goal, you just stepped away from it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm arguing with these people. I don't need this. I'm not learning anything. I'm not taking any value away from it. I'm leaving. I know. I love that. I love that he was going to uni. Arguing with the lecturers over nutrition. And he was probably fucking right as well. But I think, for you there, it was clear when you spoke to me. You were just like, I'm wasting my time. Like, I'm not going to uni to get, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but what I got from it was like, you weren't going to uni to say like, I've got a sports science degree. Yeah. It was like, I'm going to go here and hopefully learn all this stuff to be better.
But what I think's funny is even now, people will be like, oh, how's uni going? I'm like, I dropped out like 2 years ago. Wait, dropped out. Wait, actually, was you? Oh yeah, no, nearly about a year and a half ago, dropped out. That's mad. That feels like so much longer, doesn't it?
I remember. I feel like it was like only a short time ago. I feel like we only had this conversation, or you mentioned it. Like,
I think I spoke to you about it a couple months after.
I was like, do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
It's funny, isn't it, when you speak to someone who's already done it? Yeah, like people speak to me about leaving the army, and I'm like, do it. Do it.
People even now say, how's uni? Like, I dropped out. And like, and they're shocked because I've defied like
everything,
social conventions. It's like, oh, if you leave uni, therefore you fail.
It's because
like,
you
people
say
think that you only leave uni because you're not good enough to do it.
Yeah.
But it's like, when, it's just, it's mad. I think.
So says a lot about your character.
When I'm faced with this people's opinion of me being a failure, I'm not bothered. I think what I'm trying to say is I'm not bothered by, I don't determine my failures what other people see my failures as. Yeah. So like, if you fucking launch a fucking program and it flops, I don't give a fuck. People could look at it and go, oh, anyway, you failed that. And it's just like, oh no, I didn't. I'll just make it better next time. It's like, I'm just on this journey that I'm moving through every single day, every single month, trying to become better. So as you say, you don't fail until you actually give up.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the mindset is when you know you're moving forward and you're stepping forward, you can't ever fail and you can't ever be rejected.